They knew the chances of survival were low. They knew the enemy was waiting. But at dawn on June 6, 1944, they stepped into the fire anyway. This is the story of the Normandy landings, the operation that changed the fate of World War II. It began long before the first boat touched the shore, before the first parachute opened, before the first shot echoed across the French coastline. It began with a plan so massive, so risky, and so desperate that even its creators couldn't be sure it would work. For 4 brutal years, Nazi Germany had dominated the continent. The Allies needed a foothold in Europe, a door, a chance to push back. That door would be Normandy, but opening that door required an illusion of unprecedented scale. The plan was called Operation Fortitude. At its heart was a phantom army, a force that existed only on paper and in the minds of German intelligence. Inflatable tanks were lined up in fields across from Pas-de-Calais, the narrowest point of the English Channel. Fake radio traffic filled the airwaves, broadcasting messages for non-existent units, and commanding this ghost army was one of the Allies' most feared generals, George S. Patton. Hitler bought the deception, hook, line, and sinker. He was convinced the main invasion would come at Pas-de-Calais, and he kept his best divisions waiting there. That mistake, born of Allied ingenuity, would save thousands of lives. As night falls on June 5th, a tense silence hangs over southern England. An army of millions of men, a vast armada of ships, an entire generation, waits. They check their gear, write letters home, and say quiet prayers. Then, the order comes, cutting through the silence. Okay, let's go. The largest amphibious invasion in human history is underway. But before the beaches, the war comes from the sky. Under the cover of darkness, thousands of American paratroopers from the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions drop into the unknown. They are scattered by winds and anti-aircraft fire, landing far from their drop zones, often alone or in small, isolated groups. Lost and surrounded, they are hunted in the hedgerows and marshes of Normandy. Yet, they fight on, improvising, linking up, and attacking their objectives with fierce determination, sowing chaos behind enemy lines. Simultaneously, British and Canadian airborne troops, the Red Devils, execute daring glider assaults. In a breathtaking feat of airmanship, they land just yards from their targets, capturing vital bridges like Pegasus Bridge and destroying key artillery batteries, securing the flanks of the coming invasion. And then, dawn. As the sun rises on June 6th, the world holds its breath. The fleet appears off the coast of France, a forest of steel on the horizon. The naval bombardment begins, a thunderous roar that shakes the very earth, and then the ramps drop. The beaches have names that will be forever etched in history: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. At Utah Beach, strong currents unexpectedly pushed the American landing craft more than a mile south of their intended target. It's a stroke of luck. This new landing zone is far less defended. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr., the oldest man in the first wave, famously declares, "We'll start the war from right here." They push inland, linking up with the paratroopers and securing their objectives with relatively few casualties. At Gold Beach, British forces face stiff resistance but advance rapidly. Specialized tanks, Hobart's funnies, clear mines, and demolish concrete fortifications, allowing the infantry to break through the German lines and push towards the strategic town of Beer. At Juno Beach, the Canadians are met with a wall of fire, mines, underwater obstacles, and interlocking machine gun nests. Inflict heavy casualties in the opening minutes, but they fight with incredible tenacity. Pushing through the chaos on the shore, they advance farther inland on D-Day than any other Allied force, a testament to their courage and fighting spirit. At Sword Beach, British troops, accompanied by French commandos, storm ashore with the crucial mission of linking up with the airborne forces holding the bridges over the Orne River. They fight their way through heavily defended coastal towns, battling street by street to relieve the beleaguered paratroopers and secure the eastern flank of the entire invasion. But Omaha was hell on earth. Here, the pre-invasion bombardment had failed to destroy the German defenses, which were manned by a battle-hardened division. The cliffs were higher, The beach was wider, and the machine gun fire was relentless. Soldiers leaped from their landing craft into deep, icy water, their heavy gear dragging them under. Those who made it to the shore found themselves pinned down, with no cover. On a killing field, one veteran would call a long, gray, smoking beach. The first wave is decimated. For a moment, American commanders aboard the ships offshore consider abandoning the landing and diverting the remaining troops. But the men on the beach refused to give up. They refused to die, there for nothing. Led by the sheer will of junior officers and NCOs, small groups began to move. A sergeant blows a gap in the barbed wire. A lieutenant leads a handful of men up a steep bluff. Piece by piece, soldier by soldier, they claw their way off the sand and start taking the fight to the enemy in the trenches and bunkers above. It is an act of sheer, unyielding courage against impossible odds. By the end of the day, the Allies held the beaches. The foothold was narrow, the casualties were staggering, but it was theirs. They held on, and that changed everything. From those blood-soaked strips of sand, a path was opened, a path that would lead across the fields of France, through the streets of Belgium, and into the very heart of Germany. It was the beginning of the end for the Third Reich. D-Day was more than just a military victory. It was a profound human story. It's the story of teenagers who had never seen combat, now facing the most terrifying experience of their lives. It's the story of veterans who had survived other fronts, now thrown into the meat grinder once more. It's the story of medics who carried no weapons, only courage, as they ran into the fire to save the wounded. And it's the story of men who fought and died for a world they believed in, for people they would never meet, and for a future they would not get to see. The Normandy landings didn't end the war in a single day, but they made victory possible. The world we live in today, the freedoms we so often take for granted, were shaped by the immense sacrifice of those who stepped out of the landing craft and into the pages of history. We will remember them. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as moving as we did, please like, share, and subscribe for more chapters from history.